Welcome back to Division I Rejects. This is episode 121, August 21st. And this is the last, no, this is not even the last week before college football. We have college football, or football in some aspect, every week for the rest of 2023.
Let's go, dude.
That prospect is crazy because it literally is not even September yet. So this is like the week 0 slate of games coming up this weekend. I think it's headlined by Navy Notre Dame, I believe, is the one of the first to kick off, correct? No clue. Yeah, could have fooled you. But that's the week 0 slate. And there's been a lot of conversation about why Division II and Division III teams don't have don't have week 0 games, which, you know, actually would really benefit a lot of teams, because right now as it stands, you have like an 11-game schedule that you need to fit in 11 weeks. Now, just expanding that to a 12-week slate wouldn't necessarily be adding a game, but then you'd allow for teams to actually have a bye week somewhere along those lines. There's been some talk about it. Obviously, the NCAA is usually pretty stringent and not very, they're the no-fun league sometimes, so that might not happen. But it seems like that'd be a pretty obvious thing to give teams a bye week and kind of more flexibility in scheduling, right?
Yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
Especially right now with a lot of stuff we have going on, especially the D2 level. You look at a situation like Alderson Broadus that we've talked about at length in the MEC and the team that dropped out. Now all those teams are looking for different games, and you have some other squads that other conferences that now have to do out-of-conference games for the first time in a long time, like the NSIC and a couple other conferences. So we'll see if that gets changed. But we've got a great guest tonight. That is one of our own D1R athletes, Trey Fabrocini. He'll be joining us here shortly. The running back from Denison, the Big Reds. He set the single-season rushing touchdown record with 20 touchdowns last year.
Damn.
For Big Red. So he's a stocky dude. He's going to run between the tackles. He'll run over you, run around you, do it all. But a couple guys from the D2 level that are making some waves in the NFL. Tyson Bagent, we've talked about him a lot on this program. He's making the case to be the backup in Chicago behind Justin Fields at the quarterback position. Might be the only Division II quarterback right now in the NFL. I can't think of any other ones. I was trying to do some research. Yeah. Anyone comes off the top of your head? I don't think so.
I can't think of any. It's
a position that you just don't see translate to the league. I don't know. We went over the numbers of, like, I think the most positional-wise was offensive lineman, defensive back, and wide receiver, I think, was actually number 1 of this year, how many guys from D2 were going to the NFL. Quarterback was the bottom of the list. Tyson Bagent was the only one that I had seen that has gotten a shot from this last year's class. So very interesting there. Another guy who made a ton of numbers at the D2 level, that being Caleb Murphy from Ferris State, set the NCAA single-season sack record last year at Ferris. He got 2 sacks versus the Vikings in his preseason game with the Tennessee Titans the other day. There's some pretty good words from Mike Vrabel about the Ferris State alum. We'll talk about Caleb Murphy. We talked, again, about him and the Ferris State Bulldogs a lot. They headline the D2 football top 25 that we'll review. They released their preseason rankings, also have a list of the watch list for their top 100 or elite 100 list, so make sure to check it out on all their socials. They produce a lot of great content, especially once we get in season. Finally, a couple more things. A Texas high school is getting half an indoor field. Not entire indoor field, not entire outdoor field, half an indoor field.
It's kind of wacky.
In your head, like, before we look at the pictures, like, what does that even mean? Like,
I just picture, like, a shed cut in half.
It's actually really close. Yeah. We'll take a look at that later on in the episode. If you want to find any of these topics and more, use timestamps, bottom of the screen. If you're on YouTube, slide forward any part of the conversation that sounds remotely interesting. Otherwise, timestamps will be posted on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker FM, all the Overcast, all the different spots that you could potentially listen to a podcast. There's no escape. Finally, Patriots are signing 3 XFL and USFL players in just a couple weeks span, right?
Yes, sir.
They're a team that I feel like always goes out of the way to find Division II talent as well. We've seen a lot of that in the past. And also, when you have the coaching pedigree that Belichick has, you have the luxury of people not questioning your every decision. You just gotta
do what you want.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
If anyone else made the moves that he did, they would be under so much scrutiny.
He'll just kind of like murmur like he does, and then they're gone. Then they're fired. I'm done, dude.
Like the time before the draft that he went to, he missed the combine to go down to like Middle Tennessee and like work out that offensive lineman in the rain or something, or defensive lineman. Didn't even end up drafting him.
Just kind of like mind games, dude.
He must have just not liked, I don't know. It was a crazy story. Like, you're missing the combine for that, but you got to do what you got to do. But thank you all for tuning in. This is going to be an exciting episode. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all the socials. Subscribe on YouTube. We just hit 600 today, so that's pretty exciting. And before we get into any of that stuff, let's go right to the conversation with Trey. Join the show tonight, running back at Denison University, a man who is a two-time first-team All-NCAC selection. Last year, he shattered the Big Red single-season rushing touchdown record. It's Trey Fabrocini, one of our newest D1R athletes. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Great, man. Appreciate it.
Pumped to get you on here. You saw our top 10 mascot list. What the hell is up with that buzzard, dude?
Oh yeah, that's a funny story. I mean, we're known as the Big Red, but we got this mascot now, the Buzzard. So basically, we have this beautiful athletic facility, Mitchell Center, right? And
Okay.
we have these pesky buzzards, dude. They circle in these flocks. I don't know what they're looking for, but they nest over by the woods by our fields, and they just fly around in circles and poop on like all the like septic stuff and water tank stuff. And so during practice and in the middle of the night, they have to set off these fireworks that sound exactly like gunshots to get them to fly away and stop pooping on everything.
Are you serious?
So, yeah, that's the story of as why we became the Buzzards. I mean, we're persistent, man.
Someone was walking through over there and just got shit on and was like, you know what? Yeah. That needs to be our mascot.
Yeah, we'll be running plays right around 4:00 our practice time. We'll hear firecrackers go off and gunshots or no damn buzzards.
Just buzzards. Because it used to be like in Indian, right? That's they had to get rid of it or what?
Yeah, I mean we still all go by the Big Red, but I don't. Buzzards are our mascot, I guess. So yeah.
That was up here in Marquette, where Northern Michigan is. The high school was the Redmen. That was like their name, and now they're getting rid of that, and it's this huge drama. Like, it's never gonna end. Yeah. It's never gonna end. But let's talk football though. We don't have to talk about the Buzzards. After a year like you had last year in 2022, it's not the first time that you started for them. Obviously, the year before that, you started all the games and still had put together a solid season. But last year, you really put it all together. It felt like just looking from an outsider's perspective and putting up those stats, because the stats are what you look at when you're not there. It's the easiest way to kind of quantify things. But it's got to be exciting for you heading into this year, having that behind you, and now being able to look at this just week by week and try and almost just one-up yourself. I feel like it's probably just the mindset, and personally and also as a team, to help you guys win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, team comes first. I want to get the job done, whether that's a game where I carry the ball 18 times or freaking 39 times. I mean, you never really know until you see what's working. And obviously, a lot of credit goes to my coach, OC Coach Moses. Going into last season, he just kept reiterating the point, whether that be in meetings. He really put a lot of trust in me, throwing little compliments out, like we have one of the best running backs in the country, all that. So it went to my head, and it gave me that. Even those little small words just gave me a lot of confidence in my game, what I could do on the field. So huge credit to the coaches, and obviously big guys up front. I think firmly we have two guys fifth year and returning, all 5 starters. So it's going to be a great year up front for those guys as well.
That's big, dude. I don't think people realize how big that is too. You talk about almost like the affirmations, right? Those words from your coaches or even from your teammates. Like that's so big time, especially at a position like running back where, like you said, there's a good chance you might touch the ball 20 times a game. And if you're not in the right headspace to do that, that's just not going to work out, right? And so running back's such a unique position where you have to get into that right mindset, physically, mentally, into that groove to be running the ball. And it's nice when your offensive attack is predominantly focused on that, because you're guaranteed. You can go into the game knowing hey, I'm going to get my touches this game, and now I got to make the most of them for my guys. Right off the bat, to know that, I feel is just such a secure thing of mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our team knows it too. We're a run first team. We're gonna shove the ball down your throat till the fourth quarter until you wear down a little, and then hit there. But it's old school hybrid football where we're trying to get 4 yards a pop every time. And when we get that on a drive, on those 15, 12 play drives, it's great. It really builds confidence. You're wearing that defense down so much more than the offense.
Yeah, that's big. What part of your game this year are you excited to really rely on and maybe get more out of?
I'm really this summer, obviously, didn't have any too many home run hitters. I was more of a consistent back. If you give me the ball, I'm gonna get 5 yards a pop.
Yep,
consistent. Not gonna get 2 or 3 spring a big one. So I'm excited to show off my speed and what I've been working on over the summer, obviously, and flashes of quickness and some more shiftiness to my arsenal. So
Yeah.
excited to see how that translates to the field.
See you get your big ass out of the backfield too, catch some routes out there in the flat, maybe get a little something going.
Yeah, for sure.
It's dangerous, dude. I love it. You're gonna be well rounded. You guys finished at 8-2 last year. You've got a great challenge, not to open, but in week 2 this year, Linfield. I'm sure you guys are pumped about that one. They're currently ranked number 8 in the country. Talk about a chance, again, personally to show off your stuff immediately as kind of a welcome back moment, but also as a team, right? Like right off the gate, you get a chance on a national stage to go and prove things.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's a big challenge, but so far our coaching staff and, a lot of players haven't even overlooked to that point. Our priority right now is fall camp, getting the offense in, getting it perfected. And, week 1 heading into Capital, and OAC opponent, obviously not a strong one super historically, but it's still an opponent. And we got to take care of business there first. And then, when that week rolls around against Linfield, we'll gear up for them. So obviously, like, it's hard not to think about it. Anyone thinks about it. They're the number 8 team in the country. It's obviously going to be excited. And we're a physical team. We look forward to the challenge, but right now we just got to take it step by step.
It's a great answer. Your coach would be proud of that one.
Yeah,
that's good. But we were just talking earlier in the show, the D2 football.com top 25 list came out. We're talking about University of Indianapolis, which last year they were actually number 8 team in the country. They went into Saginaw Valley, who's in our conference. They got their ass kicked at Saginaw Valley. And it's like, I don't think people realize that number doesn't mean anything. You show up to somebody's place on the wrong day and you're going to walk out of there with your tail between your legs. So I'm excited to see that one, especially what you guys have to do those first couple weeks. Then you look down the road a little bit further. Again, 1 week at a time for you guys, but I'm a media guy. I get to look wherever the hell I want. Wabash, DePaul, Ohio Wesleyan should be some really exciting matchups for you guys this year. That win over Wabash last year was, I know, a huge one in your campaign in 2022.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, college football is just so wild. Last year you look at it, 8-2. It was crazy all over the NCAC. There were leagues. Obviously, first loss came to DePaul on a heartbreaker. I think it was 17-13 or 17-14. Lost by 1 possession. If we could have that game back, we would. Week 2, we go to OU. We're really flat, man. A lot of guys down. Just did not overall flat day. We got blown out by a team that was, if anything, very mediocre. And DePaul ended up losing to, I think, a very average Wittenberg team or the following week or something like that. So it's crazy. The NCAC, I think, in the country, Division III wise, is one of the most balanced conferences. Of course, DePaul has come out on top back-to-back years, but they almost lost to OU. It's very crazy. And, you look down the line, we beat Hiram by a field goal, not a really good team then, but they had some really good players, so it's wild. I love our conference. Anyone can come out on top, and week to week, it's always a challenge.
Yeah, and with that being said, preseason rankings don't mean jack shit, but we're still going to talk about them. DePaul picked first. You guys are third behind them in Wabash. And, again, you don't buy too much into that because it's all about where you end up at the end of the year. But anything surprising come out about those preseason, the coaches poll, from your perspective?
From my perspective, I expected us at probably second or third. I could see where the coaches came from. Last preseason we were ranked 5, so
okay.
Those to us really don't mean anything, but third's always a good spot to be. I mean, obviously Wabash has a really good quarterback, Liam Thompson coming back, stud, All-American tight end, I think Penn Stoller, and then DePaul, just really solid defense all around. So the makes sense to me from the media perspective, but obviously preseason rankings don't mean too much until around. So
no, they don't. They definitely don't. Liam Thompson on that Manning Award watch list. Did you peep that?
Yeah, I mean he's a stud. That's
ridiculous. Like I didn't really realize what that meant. We talked about it last episode. Like you look at that list and the company that he's in, to put a dude at this level of football. Finish it right now. Damn. To put this dude at this level of football on the same list as Caleb Williams and all these like other just prolific Division I quarterbacks. You're like, is this the real deal? Like this really happened.
Yeah, dude was an absolute stud. And when we went into their home and beat them in the nail biter, they got us the year before that in overtime with version last year. We got them on their homecoming. There were with 2 minutes and 30 seconds. I think there were we had two drives to get 14 points. They had to drive with like a minute 30 to score. So, it was a battle back and forth. And that game really was all offense, and it came down to who possessed the ball last. And that luckily was a phenomenal game, most exciting game I've ever been a part of.
That's awesome, dude. On some like Chiefs Bills type of beat like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Talking about sometimes guys just have a nose for the end zone, I think is like a great way to call it. And I think some good examples of that. I know at the D2 level, last year it was Carson Gulker, the quarterback from Ferris State. I don't know if you have heard that name. He broke the NCAA record for rushing touchdowns by a quarterback as like a redshirt freshman. And with Ferris's offense, it makes a lot of sense. Their offensive line is just stacked, and they played all the way, and they won the national championship. The pro comparison, I think, would be like a Jamal Williams for the Lions, who, people ripped on, but then at the end of the day, you look at the stats, and he's breaking Barry's record, and you're like, how the hell does this happen? Would you put yourself, I'm not trying to say put yourself in the same category as Barry, but as that same category as a dude who just has the nose for the end zone?
This is funny you asked this. Obviously growing up, I always watched Peyton Hillis highlights, but the guy that I really liked was Mike Tolbert on the Panthers. I thought that dude was a dog. I thought he had a nose. King of 1 yard touchdowns there. Super, super fun to watch. Big hefty guy like that. Just find a way to get in the end zone in some untraditional ways for a guy that size. So, I love Mike Tolbert, but realistically, probably pro comparison would be, Peyton Hillis, just downhill runner.
I love that shit, dude. I wore 40, and that was almost an ode to a Mike Allstock, because that was the man that, like, I wish I could have been around to watch him play, as far as, like, live. Obviously, I get to see tape and things, but if there was one dude I ever wanted to run like, Peyton Hillis would definitely be a close second, but Mike Allstock was the man.
Yeah, he was the dude, and you've probably seen this YouTube clip, but like his football life, like that's an awesome video.
Yes.
And he was awesome. He was an awesome guy. Yeah, great to watch.
He is, and he's become a lot more active, I think, on a lot of like different socials and things now, and has kind of embraced the cult following that he has, which is really sick. And he's one of those guys too that like after football now is just like super trim, leaned up, like definitely could be the next star of a Nugenics commercial or something, like whatever he picks, which cracks me up.
Absolutely. And in his videos, he always acknowledges the fact like how blessed he was to be able to play football in
Absolutely.
the time because you see those big downhill backs kind of slowly diminishing out of the league. But
the game's changing a ton. The NFL running back market right now is ridiculous. I guess Josh Jacobs is coming out of his holdout, but then like even Saquon is signing for a deal that even a couple years ago would have been like chump change for a guy of his caliber, which is really interesting. But talking a little bit more about Dennis and something I was looking over your schedule. Talk to me about your the mental health awareness game you guys do with in conjunction with Mission 34 over there.
Obviously, Mission 34 is something we'll strive to be a part of, and it's a great game. Bring awareness to men's mental health that oftentimes gets overlooked. Through the eyes of masculinity and whatnot, and what it means to be a man in today's society. So, obviously raise money for that cause, and guys, we've unfortunately had some male athletes on this campus, take their lives in the struggle and whatnot. So I think it's really important to bring attention to that and shed a little light to it. We wear green in honor of those, and it's a great atmosphere to be a part of. Great overall mission and whatnot. So
those games are awesome, man. Yeah, that's definitely. I'd imagine too, like just having that happen at your university. We had a track and field athlete just last year who ended up taking her own life up here, and that was something that shocked our athletic department, but the university as a whole. And then like for a team to go on after that, I remember our athletic department tried to do something nice, and we had all of our athletic teams out to support the track and field team when they were getting onto the buses to go to their next competition, because obviously the season goes on, which is it's just tough to swallow, but it's like those first couple weeks are really difficult. And they say though the best thing though is to carry on, because those first couple weeks are going to be tough, but you got to get through them. And I just remember that tense feeling in the air of trying to encourage all the women on our team to get on the bus, and it's just something that I certainly could not imagine going through. And I'm fortunate enough to not have any of the guys on our squad that have gone through that, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's just a sad thing that just needs attention brought to it. And I think little events like that, getting game atmospheres to honor that and whatnot, specific causes is a great way.
Yeah, we had obviously I think a little bit more popularized, but like a cancer awareness game we used to do in high school every year down at my school, and like putting someone else's name on your back that you're playing for, that you have some type of connection to, and having them be there and supporting them, raising money for a cause, whatever it is, like that's what makes the game so special, dude. I'm like super glad and like fortunate to be around it, whether that's playing or talking into a microphone or whatever. Like that's what makes this game so special, being around for moments like that. So I wanted to ask about that because I'm sure the atmosphere there is a pretty special one.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a phenomenal event. Great cause overall.
Love it. But as far as your squad this year, what do people need to know about Denison heading into 2023, man?
I mean, right out the gate, very physical team. I think personally, in my eyes, we have a lot of guys that got overlooked last year when it came to end of season accolades. We have two twins on our offensive line, Kevin and Brian Stone. I mean, they're absolute
some twins, huh?
Yeah, weight room warriors. One's at left tackle, one's at guard.
Okay.
Left tackle made all region with me and a few other guys. We have a weapon at punt returner and cornerback, Jalen Epps Jr. He led all of NCAA in punt return yards, which was wild. Great dude. And then, new quarterback this year, Jimmy Steins. He's going to surprise a lot of people. He's been playing great in camp and also in spring ball. And then if you look at the defense, you got middle linebacker Jeff Moore. I think by far he's one of the best middle linebackers in the country. It gives me great opportunity to play against, really high caliber defense every single day, day in and day out. So it's tough. It's tough to compete with that. And, they always give me and the offense really good game looks. So I'm just very well-rounded.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys do. I'm even more excited to have you be a part of our D1R athletes here and, figuring out new ways to keep you guys involved to make this partnership more and more worthwhile. Sending you a little gear and putting it up in the studio is just the first of what I hopefully think this can turn into. So whatever you got for me anytime, man, I'm here for it. I want to make this thing special, dude. I'm glad to have you be a part of it.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for letting me in. A lot of the guys I know appreciate the media, and I'm sure all the D3, D2, NAIA guys, they're just loving it, eating it up. A lot of attention goes uncredited and accolades and whatnot. So it's really amazing what you're doing for smaller school athletes. So appreciate it and all.
I appreciate you, dude. That's all I've got for you, Trey. I will. I'll let you get back. I'm sure you got a pretty busy schedule tomorrow. Right back at it, huh?
Yeah. Fall camp, it. Yeah.
I feel you, dude.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Trey. I'll talk to you, brother. You know what? Appreciate Trey coming on. Now, wanted to switch over, talk a little bit about NFL guys. And by NFL guys, I mean D2 guys that are making some waves in the NFL. The first of which, Gavin, Tyson Bagent. I feel like he's taken a lot of headlines just in the last week. That kind of tends to happen when you have this kind of stat line. Saturday versus the Colts in the Bears preseason game, 9 for 10 on passes, 76 passing yards with a 98.3 passer rating, and he had that little 2-yard touchdown run where he kind of leaped over the goal line. But there were a lot of really good things being said about him, and I think number one, just like his composure and his poise. He's a guy that I think everyone from our level knows who he is. At Shepherd, he put up a ridiculous amount of numbers. He's only 23 years old, but he set NCAA passing records left and right while he was at Shepherd in D2. He threw for 17,034 yards. That's an all-time record across all NCAA divisions. Damn. Had 159 touchdown passes in his career at Shepherd, dude. 17,000 yards. So you divide that by what, 4 seasons? Right? Because that's eligibility-wise. And then you're looking at over 4,000 yards a year. If it actually were cut up directly ridiculous. Like that. That's heinous.
It's going off, dude.
That's crazy. Shepherd has made a lot of deep playoff runs. They're the back-to-back regional champions coming out of that super region. But Matt Eberflus talked about his performance. He said, quote, I saw poise. I saw good protection by the line, saw good route running by the receivers, good running by the back. And then that he's kind of goes into like that helped him kind of get into rhythm. But he says, I saw poise from him. Delivery was there. The accuracy looked pretty good. Timing was nice. Decision making was good. All the things it takes to score a touchdown, you saw it there. So I think that's just really encouraging to see. And like I said, he was the only guy from this past draft class, the D2 level, to even get a chance at the quarterback position in the NFL. Did you catch any of the clips of the game at all? I'm probably not.
No.
Yeah. But kind of talking about that situation a little bit, you look at Justin Fields is obviously the starter in Chicago, and people are very high on him right now. But as far as the other quarterbacks in that room, Gavin, you've got P.J. Walker, comes out of Temple, who is a stud, bounces around a couple NFL teams, ends up landing in the XFL. He was a dog for the Roughnecks. That was back in 2020 or 2021, around that time, correct? And then gets picked up. He played the last 2 years a ton of meaningful snaps for the Panthers, right? Because it was him and Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think because he actually balled out against the Lions, if you remember, didn't he?
Yeah, that's not. Let's just cut that. I don't want to talk about that.
I'm pretty sure that was him, though, right? I remember him coming out and throwing for like 300 against us last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So P.J. Walker's in that room, definitely a proven guy, a little bit older. Nathan Peterman, we had talked a little bit before the show, like a pretty much journeyman backup quarterback. I don't know if he's ever really landed as a true starter anywhere, though, has he?
I don't think so.
So I'm interested to see, because they'll keep what? They'll keep 3, correct? Mm-hmm. I think they'll keep 3. So you have Justin Fields, I would assume P.J. Walker, and then Tyson Bagent, I would assume, is battling for that third spot with a guy like Nathan Peterman.
Balled out. I mean, has Nathan played at all?
That's a great question. I think so.
How old is Nathan? Like 76? I know that he's old.
Jesus.
I know he's old.
That's good. No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Peterman has played a whole lot, but when you watch Bagent play, I think something it's really evident with him and his play style is his ability to make the throw off of like the back foot and the unscheduled throw. He's not a guy that, and that's where the game is evolving with a lot of quarterbacks, especially at the NFL level, the guys who can make off-schedule throws and not necessarily like, a quarterback sets up and gets into his nice 3-step and then is poised and goes forward like a very typical throw. Like more and more teams want guys who can, make that throw where they're coming off the back foot and maybe have to change up the arm angle to get around a defender.
Like a Patty Mahomes.
That's like the epitome of that, right?
That pass he made this last weekend where he was jumping out of bounds and threw it like this. Yeah. Get out of here. Stop it.
Yeah, but like I think football is just moving more and more that way. So he's a guy that definitely fits into that that kind of category because when you watch his tape, very rarely will you see it. Now, he does get on schedule sometimes, especially when you have a nice protection or you get into a nice pocket, you can get into rhythm a little bit. But you'll see a lot of his throws are actually made off the back foot, made a little bit off balance, and his accuracy is still right there. A lot of them made on the move as well. And that's, again, something that I'm not surprised by. I saw him make playoff run after playoff run in college, and now seeing him do this isn't a shock. But to people who are not familiar with his name, I can certainly understand where a little bit of that skepticism comes from because we just said, when was the last D2 quarterback to come out and really make some waves? I can't remember, but I'm not really great with names like that, Just a position that's tough. It's a tough translation. Now, a position that translates potentially a little bit better to the NFL coming out of such a smaller school, that being like a defensive lineman, right? Caleb Murphy, we've talked about him a ton. Set the single-season sack record at D2 Ferris State, who's the back-to-back national champions. They're picked to repeat again this year. They'd be the first team since West Alabama did it in the 1980s or 90s. West Alabama won 3 in a row. So Ferris would be the first team since then to do that. I was not aware of that, actually. I just found that out. It was pretty crazy. But there's a nice little news piece on Caleb Murphy that we can watch before we talk a little bit more about the guy from the Bulldogs here. Let me pull that up.
Caleb Murphy get to the quarterback when he played at Ferris State. He set an NCAA sack record at all levels with 25.5 sacks in 2022. To no one's surprise in Big Rapids, he's doing the same thing in the NFL. Saturday night against the Vikings, the Titans outside linebacker did not just record 1 sack, but 2. Murphy has now brought down the quarterback 3 times in just 2 preseason games. The undrafted
pretty good stat line right there.
Surprising some with his numbers.
It's like for him, I mean, one of the only stats that matters.
That's what we're brought in to do, is sack the quarterback. So it's a nice feeling. But other than that, I think it's something that's become natural with the feeling of hitting the quarterback, coming in, doing it for the team. Confidence level's always been high. I pride myself in what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for a reason. I've said that over and over again. But there's a lot of work to still be done, a lot of things to clean up. But very proud of myself. 2 sacks is big. So we got the win. That's the most important.
The Titans' final preseason game is on Friday.
Pretty sweet stuff from him, and I think the biggest thing too is like you hear him talk about it, and there's not like a sense maybe of surprise in his voice, right? And again, I think people who watched him the last couple of years will know that this dude was an absolute machine. If there was odds or like a line placed on sacks, it would be like Caleb Murphy, like over under like half a sack would probably be like minus 800, like for any given, you know what I mean? Like something absurd and ridiculous, because the dude literally was having multi-sack games almost every week all the way into the playoffs. Yeah. And really cool to see that, though. Really sweet.
That last tackle, damn, he just poof,
right?
Pancaked his ass.
Yeah. Oof. He was working this this little like cross chop, and then I remember seeing him do a nice long arm off the edge, which are, nothing, again, like the moves themselves, not anything crazy technical. I'm not exactly an expert like D-line coach, but I understand like a little bit of concepts. But it's all in the execution, and like he's a guy who's done that. I think the big knock on him coming out of college, actually, and I don't think you saw this, but was his pro day and looking at his pro day numbers, because everyone was aware of him, and he was on a lot of teams' radar. From his numbers, from his production, from the winning that he did at Ferris. But when he went to the pro day, he didn't put up the athleticism numbers that I think people were expecting from him. Not to say they were bad, but they just weren't up to par with, I think, a lot of other guys at that position coming into the draft. So that obviously tanked his stock, and he ends up being a priority undrafted free agent going to Tennessee, which is just crazy, dude. Like, that stuff is really just that important that it can just stop your draft stock, right?
Yeah, that sucks.
It does. Because now, like you're seeing, like the dude can play, like whether or not, exactly, which is really sweet. There were some words from Coach Vrabel on it that I wanted to pull up here too, talking about Caleb Murphy. He was taught. This is funny too, because he gives him like a compliment, but then he also like gives him like something to work on, which is funny. He said he had a great rush, matched the hand, didn't leave his feet. Quarterback brought the ball down. He had a nice sack, impacted the play. But he goes, "We'd like to see him try and tomahawk that ball where he spun back in on the second sack." I love, like, Braves just like can't just dish out a compliment. It's got to be like a little bit of both.
Yeah, he did good, but could have been better.
He did a lot better.
Like,
thanks, Mike. He says, just a few, I would say, awareness things. Sometimes on a screen, a run game, things like that. But as far as rushing, he's shown an ability to win, is what Vrabel said about him. And it definitely seems like they don't have a ton of depth at that position, too. Vrabel also said that he continues to find a role on special teams. I love his attitude, shows up every day ready to work. So you get in on special teams, and that's the case of every NFL rookie, really, for the most part, unless you're a high draft pick. But you get in on special teams and solidify yourself a spot on that actual like travel or game day roster. And if you don't have a ton of depth at the position, which Tennessee really does not right now, you could find a way to get in there as like a 3 or even a practice squad guy. That's not the worst thing. It's not exactly a death sentence, right? Being a practice squad guy, you're still in the league, still getting an opportunity. So really cool stuff from Murphy. I wanted to look at, before we go over some other things, the D2Football.com Top 25 was released just yesterday, and not a lot of huge surprises out of this. Looking at the top 10, it goes Ferris State, Grand Valley, Pittsburgh State, Colorado Mines, Northwest Missouri, Angelo State, Minnesota State, West Florida, Delta State, and Bemidji State. So some things to note right there. The GLIAC, obviously, spots number 1 and 2, Ferris and GV. Then you've got 2 from the NSIC with Mankato and Bemidji, and also 2 from the Gulf South with West Florida and Delta State. Then you go you got the Northwest Missouri from the MIAA, or no, 2 from MIAA, excuse me, because you've got Pittsburgh State and Northwest Missouri State. Then you've got 1 representative from the RMAC and Mines, and then another from the Lone Star in Angelo. So a decent spread, but you can definitely tell, like, we've talked a lot about what the best conferences in D2 football are. With the GLIAC, the MIAA, Gulf South, and NSIC, I think there's a really good argument for probably each of those conferences could say, like, yeah, we're the best.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like they run shit.
Right. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? To have for each of them to have 2 representatives there. And looking through the rest, I know the GLIAC had one more with Davenport in the top 25. But looking through this, I know the PSAC was definitely represented well throughout most of this. MIAA had a couple more selections. There's West Georgia from the Gulf South. So a really good spread, actually. But they talked a lot about a few teams, and one of them in particular actually was Ashland. Ashland's currently picked at 14th. They were 10-2 last year. Excuse me. They ended up winning in the first round against Notre Dame College in the playoffs, got beat by IUP in the second round, who was the 1 seed out of that super region. But Ashland loses a quarterback, their starting quarterback, who I believe was a starter for like 4 years. I'm pretty sure they got a brand new head coach coming in. And you want to know what their schedule looks like their first 2 weeks? They play against IUP, who was a team that beat them in the playoffs, who has been the 1 seed in that super region, who was picked to repeat as the winner of the PSAC. And then the next week they play Ferris.
Ugh.
That's tough, dude.
That's unfortunate.
That's a tough fucking draw.
That's oof.
So imagine that as a coach coming in and being like, these are your first 2 slated ones.
Yeah,
with
a
new quarterback under center.
Push him in. See you, buddy.
Now, they've got returning senior running back Larry Martin coming back. But they also lost Elijah McGee, the linebacker. Elijah McGee? No, I'm blanking. That was the one from, it might be him. I'm totally blanking on the linebacker's name, but they lost one of their best defensive players. I think it was Elijah, who's now, I believe, going to the CFL. And then they lose, some of their best offensive players to graduation. So Ashland was one that had a lot of contention. They thought potentially they were ranked too high. That pick may be a lot on pedigree. Right in front of them is Shepherd at 13, which is really interesting. We just talked about Tyson Bagent, who's from Shepherd. He's one of 4 or 5 different guys that got camp invites from Shepherd this last year, dude.
Damn.
But you know what that means?
What does it mean?
That 4 or 5 guys that were studs all left.
Yeah.
Right? So you had Bagent, who's with the Bears. Ronnie Brown's fighting for a spot at the running back position with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Joey Shepard, offensive tackle with the 49ers. And then they had a tight end who got a camp invite to the Ravens that I have not heard much about after the fact. So I think it was the 4. I think it was the 4 guys. But when you have that type of turnover, man,
that's tough.
That's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
That's going to be really hard to do. Now, Shepard's been really good, but to pick them 13th, I think a lot of people were definitely very curious about that. Otherwise, looking at this, Davenport at 24 is going to be a very interesting one. Davenport finished the year at 8-3. They were 8-0, and then they lose to Ferris, lose to Grand Valley, lose to Ferris in the first round of the playoffs. 3 pretty good losses. But I guess my knock on Davenport, I think they're going to be really good this year. Don't get me wrong. My knock on them is their margin of victory and their defense. Last year, they let up 24 points or more in like 7 games. I think they said on the D2 football release show, which is kind of a scary number for them.
Yeah, that's quite a few.
Isn't that that's almost an average? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not good.
No, it's not great.
So their offense bailed them out of a lot of situations. They just got a transfer, a couple of big-time transfers. Myron Harris from Wayne State's going over there at the running back position. They got a receiver coming out of Lake Erie, I believe, who was a 1,000-yard pass catcher for the Storm. So their quarterback, Whitaker, comes back. He's a transfer from Northwestern, I believe, actually. So he's a stud. You'll get to see him play this year. We both will. And then my other kind of knock on them, though, was the closeness of their games. Like, so many one-score games. You look at, in the beginning of the year, they beat Truman State by 1 point. They beat Saginaw Valley by 1 point. They beat us in overtime. Then they beat us by 1 score the second time. Then they have to go down in a last-minute touchdown against Wayne State, who finished last in the league. They had to go down on a last-minute touchdown, beat Wayne State. They had to pull out a huge comeback win against Michigan Tech. Now, the key part of all those statements, they won.
So they're like the Vikings last year.
Isn't that crazy? That's actually a pretty good analogy.
The Davenport Vikings, man. Those are all very close.
But they won. And so a sign of the great teams, they win the games they're supposed to, and they certainly did. But it would be very interesting to see with their slate of games. Actually, I want to see their schedule this year. But it'll be very interesting to see with their slate of games if that margin of victory can increase, or if there's going to be a lot of those same, you know what I mean? Like a lot of those same type of really narrow margin games. Now, they open the year, the first part of their schedule is actually pretty friendly. I won't lie. They open the year with Thomas More, and that is, you're probably not familiar with them. They're an NAIA school that just got into the GMAC, the GMAC. that's their first game. And they're picked last in the GMAC, Thomas More is. So I'm assuming that's not going to be too competitive. Now, week 2 against Bowie State, September 9th. Bowie State has been a perennial contender here. This is actually one of the first years in a while they've not been picked to finish pretty highly in the preseason poll. That'll be a tough one, Bowie State. Then they go William Jewell, which don't really expect much. So those first 3 weeks before they get into GLIAC conference play, I think should be pretty friendly to the Panthers. Should be a nice way to make sure all their pieces are kind of firing. That'll definitely be interesting. Otherwise, anything surprising from these polls? Indianapolis at number 21. I wasn't sold on them last year. They were 9-2. They won the GLVC. I just don't think there's any depth in that conference. They have them and Truman State. That's about it as far as I'm concerned. McKendree plays a couple solid games. And you've got like Quincy and a couple. That conference doesn't really do it for me. And then what really is they came in. They were number 8 in the country last year. They come into Saginaw Valley, who's unranked, and Saginaw trounced them. Like literally blew them out of the water at Saginaw, the number 8 team in the country. So after that game, I was a little bit not sold on the Greyhounds, but obviously they are number 21 in the polls. They must have a lot going for them. So you can check out the full list and the Elite 100 watch list at d2football.com. Shout out to those guys once again for putting out a bunch of great content. But Gavin, we can switch over. Let's talk about the Texas high school that is getting half an indoor field. That's one of the craziest things I've heard. I don't know if I've ever thought that would be real. It's Farmersville High School in Farmersville, Texas, and this is the first picture I will show you. I think this probably does the best way of just illustrating exactly what the hell this is.
Are they going to store airplanes in it? What am I looking... What? Dude. Why?
It does. It looks like a plane hangar. It's ridiculous how... That's really what it looks like.
Wow. Is there like... There's got to be... What's the point? Why?
I don't know,
man. Seriously, what?
It's very odd. You know what I mean? It's very unique. How about we say that? It's very unique. I've certainly not seen any other schools trying to rep this look. Is this a money-saving thing?
Yeah, I think they're like...
It's got to be a money thing.
They did some poor budgeting because I bet halfway through they're like, let's just make it look like we planned on doing this because this makes no sense.
So you think originally...
That'd be kind of funny.
This was a full indoor facility, and about halfway through they said...
I don't want to make any accusations,
guys,
but that makes sense.
No, I bet actually would be hilarious. Guys... I don't know if we're going to be able to finish this damn thing. The donors did not come through.
Budgeting dude's losing his job. Because this, like the logistics don't make sense.
They're getting a lot of pub for it right now, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, like, is there going to be, are only bleachers going on that, like around the outside part? Can't see half the game?
This is a practice field, so they won't be playing any games here,
I thought okay, well then never.
Yeah.
I thought for a second they were playing on it.
That would be crazy.
That would be insane.
No.
Okay, but still, I don't really, not really getting, yeah, oh, that's kind of cool.
There's the look at the inside right there.
I wonder.
And I think the biggest gripe from a lot of people was like, oh, there's a pole in the middle. People are gonna be running into the pole and like on the routes and shit, but the pole comes up, I guess. The pole only is down, I guess, when the doors, like those doors come down, but once they pull those up, I guess the pole comes out of the way so they have a full field. Now, the other obvious problem would be any type of special teams, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it's pretty cool, actually.
It's pretty cool.
It just, to me, doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
It's kind of weird. Just, it's either go big or go home.
Plus, like, this is Texas. This is not Maine or Northern Michigan or Alaska or Oregon. Yeah. What exactly do you need an indoor facility for in Texas? Now, the only thing I can think of is, say, maybe it is 115 degrees and the sun is out and you don't want to be on turf.
Get some AC pumping.
Yeah. That's the only thing I think. Do they even get snow down there? I don't even.
And dude, when they do get snow, it's like Armageddon. Like they get like an inch
because they don't know how to handle it.
It's just closed. Everything done, dude.
That's funny. That's how it is in Tennessee. I got cousins that live in Knoxville. My aunt's a professor at UT, and they'll tell me they'll get like an inch or two of snow and everything shuts down.
Which is insane.
Like, everything shuts. But now it's a little bit different too because that like the elevation in that area, like there's a lot more elevation change. Like all those slopes and things become a lot more dangerous. But yeah, people just don't know how to handle it. Whereas up here, we could get a foot and we would have school in the morning because we know like these guys are just pros.
Because the trucks come out and they're moving.
Yeah.
Everything's getting moved.
And then in Houghton, where Michigan Tech is, for those familiar with the D2 team up in the upper part of Michigan, they can't even plow the roads, because there's too much snow, they get on either side. They have to actually load the snow into trucks and offload it off campus to a separate dumping site.
Like a sandbox.
It's safe to say that this Texas team will not be dealing with any of that. But the field itself, I mean, looks like a nice field.
Looks really nice.
Imagine having this facility as a high schooler. That's incredible.
Sick.
So sweet. And obviously this, I'm assuming, will be multifunctional for different sports. But the thing is, you don't really see a whole lot of other lines on there. I think I might have one more picture to look at.
I think I saw a soccer.
Did you? There has to be. If you're a high school, right? There's no way this is going to be strictly football. There's another really good look at the middle of the field there.
Pretty dope.
So they do have like circle and stuff. So that would be like lacrosse and maybe some other things. I'm not sure, soccer maybe. So they definitely will be used for more than just football. But yeah, the comments were really cracking me up. They're like, "How the hell is there a pole in the middle?"
That's just like the dads.
Yeah, like no, like they wouldn't have thought of that beforehand to move the damn
I'm sure
thing.
the engineer doesn't know what he's doing. It's like, sit down, Daryl. Get out of here. Know what you're talking about.
Oh,
It's so dope though.
really cool. I mean, it's a cool idea. I'm thinking the only reason you would have to do that is if it was literally 130 degrees and my cleats would melt if I step outside of the building.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified that they're not making this like their home field where they play at, because that had me tripping up. It's like,
Yeah,
how
right?
How you gonna watch half the game? But I don't know, for practice, it's kind of sick.
No, it is. I'm trying to see if I can find a picture of their.
I bet it's like an NFL stadium. These Texas football stadiums
I don't think
are
it is, because I looked at it. I looked at it earlier, and I think it was actually like really nothing crazy. You know what I mean? I just Googled it, and looking at it right now. But you're right. There are some Texas fields that are ridiculous. I don't think this is one of them. If this is the actual field right here, hello grain. Why is that going to be?
Oh,
Why is that giving
my
me? Hold on.
goodness.
We're gonna open up a better. We're gonna open up a better
Hello
version of
grain.
that. Yeah, there we go. That's better.
that's a lot better. I mean, yeah.
This looks like, at least from a Google search, this looks like their actual stadium.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong,
It's nice.
for a high school, it's actually really sick. The bleachers, though, are not proportionate to the level of luxury that press box is at all.
No,
That press box is sick,
it's really nice.
and the
then you
bleachers are just not
Lambo.
it.
No, that's yeah. I don't know what it is. Like, I know high school football in Texas is big, but like some of those stadiums, bro, what? It's like college. There's this new Texas high school that just opened, and they've got like Jimmy John's in their cafeteria, Papa Sonic. I'm like, huh? What's going on? It's ridiculous.
It's just different, dude.
It is different.
It's different down there. Here's another view of just like that press box.
Look at that press box, man.
It's the same, yeah, same one.
It's way nicer than what. It's like all the budget went towards the press box.
It really kind of feels like that. Like that press box is sick, dude. Are those suites on the bottom level?
Yeah,
By the way, Fighting Farmers. You see that?
interesting name.
Just believe it. Interesting.
I think those are sweet boxes. I see chairs. I think, dude.
Yeah, dude. So you've got suites and then just straight general admission.
And then just
No,
the Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Lambeau.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. That's kind of looks really nice though.
Yeah. Again, cool high school stadium, but when you're building a half an indoor, then like you kind of expect a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
I think. All right. Last piece for today. On the NFL side of things, the Patriots, they're signees from the XFL and the USFL. Looking at this, you had thrown this on here. What did you see from this?
Just saw that Bill Belichick is going for the underdogs, man. Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah, I love that, which is awesome because, like, I don't know how much viewership USFL and XFL brings in, but it's pretty dope that they're bringing in dudes from that league.
Yeah.
Well,
the XFL I know is placed like I think it's over like 70 different guys on NFL rosters.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great measurement of success. Now they did lose like $60 million this past year as far as like in functioning of the league. But Dwayne Johnson had come out and said like, hey, this is not, the reason we're doing this is not to make money. It's to help guys land on rosters and give them a second chance. And so he's obviously done that, which is awesome. Yeah.
Well, what about this? I saw some people talking about this. What if the NFL incorporate, like, how the NBA has the G League?
The feeder, right?
Yeah. Why doesn't the NFL just like absorb it and make it like a G League?
It's a great question, and I don't know honestly because
really,
that feels like too obvious of a solution, right?
Yeah, because I think it'd be good for viewership with that NFL association and stuff like that. But I think it's just dope that they're bringing in dudes from that league.
Yeah, because then you think like that would almost just extend to like practice squad guys, right? Because really that's almost what that would be.
Yeah,
but they'd be in a separate facility. They wouldn't be like training with so the logistics
separated.
would be interesting for sure. Because you have like an affiliate team for each of the NFL franchises.
How many
you're saying
XFL teams are there?
Not 32.
Not 32.
I think there might be like. Is there only 8 right now?
I have. Let me check.
Because I mean, just rattling off my head, you got like, I'm thinking, wait, USFL or XFL? Are you talking just XFL?
8 teams. XFL.
Yeah, there's only 8.
How many USFL teams? Don't they play in the spring?
Yeah, their seasons are just they're like
8 teams, so 16 total.
There's 8 in the USFL and 8 in the XFL.
Yeah.
So they have to have like a merger, and then even that would only be half the NFL, which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Or if there was a situation maybe where they were set up where it was just this one large pool and teams got to pick and go and wouldn't necessarily, or like if teams shared a fee, like that's interesting. You know what I mean?
It gets weird.
It does.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's obvious, but yeah, only 16 teams share a team. No.
It's a lot of money and logistics and
that's
things too to
really
incorporate.
That's not my domain.
Yeah.
But it's good that they're...
It seems like it would make sense, though. But as far as the Patriots signings go, they signed a total of 4 free agents between the first and second preseason games. One of them was Zeke Elliott, and that signing was pretty big. But the other 3, another running back, C.J. Marable, offensive lineman Micah Vanterpool, and a linebacker, Carson Wells. They weren't nearly as recognizable as Zeke's name, but the thing they had in common, Vanterpool and Marable both played, in the United States Football League, the USFL, and then Wells played in the XFL, which I don't even believe XFL stands for Extreme Football League anymore.
What does it stand for?
I don't even know if it's an acronym anymore. I think it's just the XFL.
Just that.
Isn't that weird?
That'd be weird.
I don't think it's technically the Extreme Football League anymore.
Well, then it doesn't. Why was it called that in the first place? Did they have different rules?
I don't know, dude.
Was it like...
I think so.
You could do like flying kicks?
Yeah. Belichick spoke about at length Monday about why, he made these signings, and he said, quote, "If you need depth at a certain position, generally what you see throughout the league is teams would try out anywhere between 3 to 6, 7 players at that position. It's pretty obvious they're looking for someone to play that spot. A lot of these players don't have very much experience. Either way, they're rookies to first-year players or in another league. So a lot of times those workouts have an effect on bringing in the player at that time. If you bring in a player right now, he needs to be kind of ready to go. Obviously, because you're going through fall camp, week 1 is
right around the
very close. He says, it's not like you have time, like a month of training with them and all that. If you sign a player in February, that'd be different. I would say the workout, the conditioning, the fact that it looks like the player is ready to go works in his favor in terms of signing a player in that situation. The players that are coming from that league probably have a bit of an advantage in that they're in good condition. They've been playing ball, their techniques or whatever at their position they've been working on, and they're maybe a little bit more proficient on those. So you don't have to beat the rust out of some rando is basically what he's saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Simple.
Some undrafted guy that's been working out with his local trainer for and no shot at those guys. Like we just had Corey Curtis on, who's very much in that position, who's working for a workout. Like that's not a shot at those type of guys, but it certainly does make sense that you can pick up a guy who's been playing ball that you can watch film on from this past year.
It's just different.
It is. So it'd be interesting. Kind of talked a little bit more about it. Just talked more about how he sees those leagues as giving a lot of these players an advantage when it comes to earning those spots as teams go through fall camp and those type of things. So a very interesting dynamic. It'd be interesting to see also if that ever does become a reality as far as like feeder programs for those NFL teams.
Yeah, I think we'll see that in the future inevitably, probably.
You do?
Yeah, I think so.
Because the practice squad is really limited as far as numbers go.
Yeah, how many practice squad players can you have?
It's like 20-some, maybe 25.
Yeah, and how does that – do they just practice?
I guess so. And practice squad is interesting, too, because if you're on the practice squad, then technically other teams can sign you.
Yeah, you can just get snagged.
Yeah, your rights aren't like saved by that squad. Now, there is I'm not great with the actual numbers and logistics, but I know with your active roster, is it a 53 man, correct? Something along those lines. Then you have, I think there's 3 additional spots that aren't technically on the active roster, but that you have like retained specific rights for those players. Mm-hmm. So I think there's like a couple guys in that boat. Those would be guys on the brink of being on the active roster that they don't want to put on the practice squad so that they don't get picked up by another squad. Like they want to keep those guys. Then you have the practice squad, your guys that could technically at any time be picked up by another team, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I think that's how that works.
NFL's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's honestly confusing.
It is.
I I got into like learning about the practice squad after Hard Knocks last year because Obina easy as on the Lions. I was like, they cut him and they're like, we'll bring you back. I'm like, okay, how does this work?
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
What's even happening?
So you're getting cut, but then you sign a separate.
But there's a chance you get signed, and then if in the middle of the season you get signed.
Yeah.
How much you practice?
And it's all need based, right? It's all need based at that position. You have no idea.
How much do practice squad players even make?
Want to find out?
Curious. I don't think it's enough, but I don't. It's not what you'd be making if you're on the roster.
Per NinerNoise.com, practice squad players make $11,500 per week, which equates to $207,000 for an 18-week regular season. If the practice squad player has more than 2 accrued years of experience, he'll earn at least $15,400 per week, which is $277,200 for 18 weeks. The maximum is $19,900 per week, or $358,200 per year.
That's not bad.
So there's even levels to the practice squad players.
I mean, $277,000 over 18 weeks. I'll take it.
That's cash.
It's pretty nice.
That's cash.
But I mean, I don't know.
But with that comes very little job stability.
Yeah, your stability is not there.
Nothing.
No.
You're going to show up one day and your card will not let you into the facility.
Yeah, it's like that video of the dude trying to get. I guess they could have cut me.
I guess they cut me.
Yeah, that's
the Jets? Who was that?
I can't remember his name.
I don't remember what team either. That was I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And that could be you. Like damn.
Any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday, baby.
Or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, any day that ends in Y.
Facility access denied. It's tough.
Yeah. That's all we've got for today. Thank you for tuning in. Division I Rejects. We'll have another episode coming later this week. But before the Week 0 matchups, we'll have to look and see, start making some, maybe not predictions, but talk about that Week 0 slate and some of those big-time games. So excited about that. Appreciate Trey joining us on this episode. Peace out.